If I were to tell you about games developed by Nintendo directly in-house, Hamtaro Heartbreak might not be a name that comes to mind. Hell, I'm sure many of you are even wondering what Hamtaro is. For many people watching, this is likely your first time even hearing about this franchise or of this game, especially if you're Gen Z. But let me take you on a little journey. Back in 2000, Hamtaro was a show that exploded in popularity and was brought to the West, where it exploded in popularity again for all of 5 minutes. It was more of a fad than anything else, and it lasted maybe 2 years or so before dying out. Hell, the remainder of the anime didn't even come out to the West, subtitled or dubbed, and never got a proper home release either. For a long time, it was close to being lost media partially, as much of the episodes were near impossible to get officially, or even through unofficial means for a long time.
Do what you want, 'cause a pirate is free. You are a pirate.
Fun side story here, Hamtaro episodes were actually so hard to come by at one point that there used to be a site where you had to basically beg to get access to them just to even see them. These days, most of the show has found its way online, but it still hasn't got a proper home release or even streaming release as far as I know of. I think it has something to do with a rights and licensing issue, but that's a story for a different kind of video. The point is, Hamtaro was a franchise that exploded for a brief moment, and that of course meant video game adaptations were bound to happen, of which we had a few, but the one we're focusing on today is the second entry to make it to the West, though the third game in the entire franchise is the first one never came to the West at all. Hamtaro Heartbreak on the Game Boy Advance. Now, why Nintendo decided that for this IP in particular they wanted to do it in-house is beyond me. But they snapped up the rights and popped out this hidden gem on the Game Boy Advance. The Game Boy Advance had a crazy amount of great games on it, and this is definitely one of them. Now many of you may be thinking, how could this possibly be good? It's a game about little hamsters going on adventures based on a very short-lived fad. There's no way this is good. Well, that's because Nintendo sprinkled a whole lot of that Nintendo magic onto this bad boy. It's no secret that Nintendo has this weird knack for making strange game concepts that can turn out somehow shockingly fun. I don't know how they pull it off, but they do. Their approach to game design seems to land more often than not. Don't get me wrong, they made some stinkers, but Nintendo seems to be that company that has more hits than misses a lot of the time when it comes to actual games they develop. Story time. I was actually a huge fan of Hamtaro back in the day. Don't judge me, I was a weird 12-year-old kid around the time I discovered it, so it just hit all the right notes at the time. There was just something about these little guys that was just so appealing. So I actually asked for this game for my birthday back when it came out in 2003. This was actually the first game I got with my Game Boy Advance SP, which I had just gotten so that I could finally see the games. If you know, you know. And I have so many fond memories playing it over and over. I think I finished this game at least a dozen times back in the day, and the Game Boy Advance SP did it so much more justice than the original Game Boy Advance due to the backlit screen. Screen being able to light up really did make games pop a little bit more color-wise to where they just kind of looked a little bit more vibrant, which was a huge deal for games like this, which was very bright and colorful. It's been years since I played this last, so replaying it for this video was kind of a nostalgic experience, which I hope doesn't taint too much of my opinion of the game. I don't want to come off as just glazing this thing, but it really is a fun game, and I'm about to explain why. So I should disclose this right now, as you're watching this video. If you're watching this video. I'm taking a big risk even showing this game because Nintendo's sort of known for taking down videos of their games, or that use their music even for review purposes, and it's annoying to fight fair use cases with them. So hopefully you see this video and they didn't flag it. So because of that, I won't be showcasing any of the music of this in a dedicated section like I do sometimes, which is a shame because this game has excellent music and it really has those beats that you come to expect from Nintendo. It sucks that I can't just take the chance of showing it, but you'll likely be hearing it in the background of this entire video. Unless, of course, Nintendo flags that too, in which case you'll be hearing another game's music. If that is the case, I apologize here, as there's little I can do about that. If not, then great, you get to experience the cool music of this game in some capacity at least. Even if it's not to the capacity that I would prefer. But again, there's not much point making an entire video and putting it up if Nintendo's just going to take it back down.
Do you realize something? Let me tell you.
Nintendo
Sees those videos that you put on the damn internet, they could condemn our house and we would have to move out of it.
I just want to be clear that this isn't me criticizing Nintendo and voicing my dislike for them. Quite the contrary. I've always been a fan of Nintendo's games, and while my love for them has been softened over the years, I still find them to be amazing innovators when it comes to gaming. I just wish that their policies on copyright were a little bit less strict, because it really makes it hard to make videos praising them for anything because they always try to take them down. With that out of the way, we gotta talk about this game's design. This literally is what being in an episode of Hamtaro would feel like, and look like. Now, if you've never seen the show, that sentence means nothing to you. What I'm trying to say is that this game captures the feeling of the franchise so perfectly. Graphics are vibrant and stylized, and you're always reminded that you are in fact a hamster. and thus you're small, and that affects how you navigate the world. Every area you go to really captures that, and the locations visited in the game are diverse and always make you wonder where you're going to go next. It's an adventure game, and while I wouldn't call it a Metroidvania, it does share some elements of that genre in that you have to revisit previously visited areas with new unlocks to explore them deeper. Exploration is the key. Just make sure you talk to everyone you see and try every single move at your disposal. Sometimes the solution to a problem is thinking outside the box. That's what makes this game so charming, really, is that despite not having any kind of game over mechanic, it's still an exhilarating game. There's no way to die or lose, but you can get stuck if you're stumped on what to do. When you get stuck, you want to revisit areas you've previously been to and look around and see if you've missed something. I remember young me would find myself stuck from time to time because I just couldn't figure out what to do. But this time around, despite not remembering most of the solutions to the puzzles, I still managed to find my way around without much help from a guide. It's never too obtuse, but sometimes the solution to a problem is finding a potty training seat that you need to progress. The scenarios you find yourself in are comedic at times and always amusing. Even down to the central villain of the game, who's just an over-the-top idiot who's constantly trying to remind us of his villainous intent. Music, gameplay, and art style all come together to make this a very enjoyable experience, because the gameplay of this game, while simple, is very easy to understand. See, the premise here is you have to learn ham chat words, which allows you to open up conversations with people or perform actions. You learn them by talking to the right people and saying or doing the right things. The words you learn in one place will likely come to use in another location, and many of them multiple times. So it's all about using the right words in the right situations. You got your basics like ham ha, which means hello, and tack Q, which means tackle, but the system becomes more interesting when you're introduced to words that require both of your player characters to use together. Some words require teamwork to activate, and that means you can only use them in situations where you're both together. There are a lot of words to find, and you get enjoyment of seeing all the little animations for each of them, as every single word gets its own animation. I swear there must be so many sprites of the player characters in this game because the amount of animations they have is ridiculous. Sometimes it's not always about the right words though, as sometimes it's about having the correct items to progress, so you have to look around and see what you can find. There's so much extra dialogue and flavor text for using random words in situations that'll likely take you a while to really experience everything the game has to offer. It's just an overall fun time. There are so many fun areas to see, my personal favorite being the haunted house, which I always look forward to every time I play this game. This game just has so much charm to it, and I have met many people who have actually said they never even saw the show this game is based on, yet they love this game. It get a bit repetitive towards the end though, as I'm sure many people will get bored of its gameplay loop. But not me personally. But it's worth pointing out that as I'm sure many people who will loathe this game for being boring in their book, and as always, you're entitled to your opinion, unless your opinion is that Chrono Trigger isn't amazing, in which case your opinion is wrong. I'm not going to suggest that Hamtaro Heartbreak was the greatest game design to come out of Nintendo, but for being what was likely just a licensed game just to shill more toys for a fad, it's pretty damn good. Better than it has any business being, that's for sure. Its game design is simple and easy to understand, but deceptively complex as time goes on. Not to mention it always has you wondering what you're going to see next, even though by the end you'll likely have seen all it has to offer within the final 2 hours or so. On top of that, there's a few minigames packed in here, and to be honest, they're pretty fun. If there is a complaint I have to make about this game, it's about how it gets a bit slow at times. Picking up items, for example, requires you to open up the ham chat menu, use the smell option for every individual item, and it can get a little tedious later on, that's for sure. There are a lot of points where I wish talking to someone was as simple as just pressing the A button, but you have to use the greeting command ham ha every single time. It's just another step that I don't think is necessary every single time. Okay, enough about the design though, let's get to the story. The good news about this game is it requires virtually no knowledge of the anime that it's based on to understand it. Unlike Sailor Moon and Another Story, which definitely leaned more on the requiring extensive knowledge side of things. Hamtaro Heartbreak is a game designed for younger players, so it explains the details that you need to know in-game. So there isn't a bunch of googling of who is who and getting obscure details to help you understand what's going on. The game borrows some of its plotline from one of the films, which never got released outside of Japan, might I add, and mixes in a ton of its own stuff. We play as Hamtaro, the titular hero of the story. He's a white and orange hamster. In case you haven't noticed, everything is hamsters in this game. It's all about hamsters. I'm a hamster, you're a hamster, everyone is a hamster. From the start, Hamtaro is a nightmare about an evil hamster named Spat who goes around breaking up couples and starting disputes between friends. He wakes up from his nightmare by Boss, who sends Hamtaro on a quest to find Bijou at the Sunny Peak. Your first task is set upon you, and you're off. Right away, you get a very good idea of Hamtaro and Heartbreak's gameplay loop. Talk to hamsters, learn new ham chats, which allow you to perform new actions and use them in places to progress through your mission. It's, again, sort of Metroidvania-ish, in that you need to unlock certain things before you can progress, so it might require coming back somewhere later when you have new moves to try out. Hamtaro manages to put a battery into a boat which he uses to rescue Bijou, who is stuck behind a huge rock. Seriously, the facial animations of this game are comedy gold, and you'll find yourself chuckling and snickering constantly as you play this. So after rescuing Bijou, this is how the rest of the game will go. Let's call this what it is. This is your girlfriend. They'll make it pretty obvious throughout the narrative as well. Bijou is your girlfriend, and she'll be following you the entire game. Which is a good thing because she's not just a nagging follower like Navi is. No, Bijou is actually helpful, and she's needed to perform some of the ham chats which require a partner to do. She's genuinely a likable character, and you'll find yourself glad she's around. While Hamtaro is a silent protagonist in the game, Bijou fills in the silence by interacting with the characters around you. Right away she tells you that she can't leave yet because your friends Oxnard and Pepper had a big fight and she wants to help sort it out. After talking to Pepper, you manage to tell the two that it was all a misunderstanding, only for our main villain to show up. Okay, seriously, this guy is insanely funny. Like, he uses such hilariously stupid lines such as, "Now that my plans are known, stay uninvolved." And he does this constantly. I legitimately imagine him talking in a Skeletor voice. This guy is a Saturday morning cartoon level of villain, and I love it. My only complaint about him is there's just not enough of him. Hamtaro and Bijou return to the clubhouse, which is kind of like your hub. If you're ever stuck, you can talk to old Snoozer over here and get a hint for what to do next. And no, that's not a joke, that's literally his name, Snoozer. When you arrive, you get a visit from a new character named Harmony. She gives us the lowdown on Spat. Basically, she chases him around and tries to thwart his nefarious plans, so she tasks Hamtaro and Bijou with undoing the harm he's done and stopping him. And now we get the full scope of the crux of this game's plot and objective. Your goals are simple. Stop Spat from splitting up couples and mend broken relationships. So you set out to the beach to do just that. Spat sends a fake love letter to a girl and you have to clear up that misunderstanding. Though I have to admit, I have to admire Spat's Dr. Evil approach to villainry. Literally puts someone in a dangerous situation and then just leaves and assumes everything went according to plan.
And the best part of this plan is, no one can stop me.
After rescuing her with help from her boyfriend, the only hamster who actually knows how to swim, Hamtaro and Bijou are off to Funland, which is not exactly so fun right now because all the rides are broken down. And we find out this is Spat's doing. Through a series of complex events that are better explained showing you the end result, Spat is defeated once again. Funland completed for now, so we're off to my favorite level, Boo Manor. Hey, wanna know a secret? I love horror games. I know, shocking, right? This is your first time hearing of it, I'm sure. So you know when there's a horror level in a Hamtaro game, I'm going to eat that right up. This level is a big puzzle, trying to figure out how to reach the end, and I love it. The creativity of using ghosts in the Hamtaro universe of all things is actually top tier. There are actual ghost boss fights too, and the overall atmosphere is spooky while still being kid friendly. It literally finds that perfect blend, all while mixed with a perfectly spooky soundtrack that just reminds me of how the Game Boy Advance just has some banging tunes across the board. Halfway through the level, Hamtaro and Bijou get separated, and you're forced to play as Bijou for a segment, all while Hamtaro practices his b-boy pose. I really actually wish that the game had more segments like this. The idea of the characters splitting up and engaging in missions alone to uncover secrets is heavily underutilized in this game. This is the only part of the game that actually does it. It's also funny to see people's reaction to Bijou tackling them. Eventually, Hamtaro and Bijou reunite and the two solve the mystery of Boo Manor, only for Spat to show his ugly head again, as he came solely to win the prize for reaching the end, which was... Okay, legit, I'm actually with Spat on this one. Ain't no damn way we just endured a literal haunted house with actual ghosts just to be given the whole, the real prize was the friends you made along the way crap. Nah, Spat is having a valid crash out here. This is a total ripoff. Either way, you convince a ghost to turn into a cat, which scares Spat away and nearly gives our heroes a heart attack. After that, the couple make their way over to the jungle for more adventures. Immediately upon arrival, you have to save a wedding by finding the wedding singer and returning a red marble. So you track down the wedding singer, our friend Jingle over here, and return the stolen marble, and even help two hat lovers become friends. And then you are given the marble. Now it's on to the final level, Spat's Tower. But unfortunately, you have no way inside until you go talk to an inventor back in the jungle who needs a final part to complete his latest invention, the Hamapult. So you go back to the first level in the mountains, and inside the mines, you put the marble along with two others you find along the way into slots to get the amazing Zelda reference as you pull the amazing, legendary spoon. With the spoon, you take it back to the inventor who uses it to finish the catapult, which you use to fling yourself into Spat's evil lair, which is surprisingly not that evil looking. Like, I kind of expected more bats, cobwebs, and copies of Eternal Sonata laying around if he truly wanted to strike fear into his enemies' hearts. Low tier villain indeed. His one henchman does a miserable job at stopping from doing, well, anything, as you engage with the puzzle to open the door. Okay, so real talk, I'm actually pretty good at these sliding puzzles, but these are notorious for leaving kids insanely frustrated, so I have no idea they put this in a kid's game, and right at the end too. Imagine you're like 8 and you get to the end of this game, you've been given the huge middle finger. Most people I just would look up a solution online, but I just happen to know the technique for solving these thanks to playing a lot of RuneScape. Also, the controls of this part feel pretty awkward. The puzzle doesn't really work the way you'd think it would. It's hard to explain, but play it and you'll see what I'm talking about. Once the doors open, you enter Spat's domain, only to find he had begun constructing a giant robot to destroy you. Okay, this actually might be the first of his plans that actually doesn't totally suck. Unfortunately, you can't beat it just yet. You need to go back to Harmony, who gives you a weapon called the Love Shot if you've filled up your love meter enough from saving enough couples. You take it back to Spat and have an epic battle that I actually wished lasted longer because this part is legitimately hilariously cool, as you fight a giant robot as hamsters with a slingshot. You shoot the Love Shot into his mouth and the day is saved. Spat leaves and you get the credits. As for extras, this game has a decent chunk of them. While the game is story and puzzle driven, so replaying it would not likely net any new enjoyment for most players except me because I just love this game, there's still tons to do after finishing the game. After completion, there are still a few couples left to help. And doing so to the point where you repair every relationship gets you a second ending to the game. Some couples can't be helped until after you finish the game anyway, so you need to be thorough. If you thought that was everything though, you have a third ending which will only unlock after you get every single ham chat in the game. So you want to search high and low for any areas you may have missed. Once you've done all that though, you can still play around the dance studio to make dances from music found in the game, or play dress up. There are rocks you can find throughout the entire game as well that you can polish to find gemstones to make into accessories. There's just so much extra little things you can do when you finish the main story. You'll be looking at an additional about 3 to 4 hours of content on top of the 10 to 12 that you get from the base game. It's about an average length game for the Game Boy Advance, but that's okay because it doesn't overstay its welcome and it doesn't drag on. While you may notice the dialogue options become a bit more tedious later in the game to the point where you could just pick things up by pressing A instead of smelling them every time like I already mentioned, it's far from a huge detriment in this game. The slower pace may turn some off, and yes, the lack of an actual game over makes the game not a challenge, as the only thing that stops you is your will to keep playing. But Heartbreak's flaws are so minimal that in my book, that you're just getting a solid game. Now we move on to the outro. This is a game that I come back to and replay every couple of years, like a strange pilgrimage to obscure games from franchises that have been long forgotten. But its charm never seems to wear off on me. I remember just restarting the game from scratch back in the day and playing it back to back, because I was a kid and you had to make the games you had last, because you didn't know the next time you'd get a new one, but this is one that I gladly do it for. It's a slower game, and yes, the subject matter is more aimed at kids than adults, but I can't deny that Heartbreak has a special place in my heart that I'll likely go back to and play again many more times. Maybe if Nintendo re-releases on the Switch Online service, more people will appreciate this hidden gem. But then again, they're too focused on releasing several versions of Mario 3, so wish in one hand. Either way, please tell me if you played this classic or even the other Hamtaro games. Let's discuss it in the comments below. Also, if you're new to the channel, I do retrospectives on classic retro games like this, many times lesser known games. So subscribe and check out my other videos if you're into that. We also have a Discord server as well. I leave a link in the description below, so be sure to check it out if you want to hang out and talk about video games. Also, I apologize for my voice in this video. I'm kind of recovering from a respiratory infection, so if my voice sounds off, that's why. Anyway, I'm WizPlay, and that's enough of that.